The massive council chamber falls silent as Commander Elena Reyes and her 5-person diplomatic team are roughly escorted in by towering reptilian guards. What should have been humanity's triumphant first contact with the Galactic Council has turned into a nightmare. Gleaming holographic displays broadcast their faces to representatives of 37 spacefaring civilizations, all watching with mixtures of curiosity, disdain, and outright hostility. Elena straightens her midnight blue uniform, the silver Earth emblem catching the strange bluish light of the chamber. She had rehearsed this moment for months. Humanity's formal introduction to the galactic community. The carefully prepared speeches, cultural exchanges, and scientific offerings now seemed painfully naive. "Keep calm," she whispers to her team. "Protocol Omega. Let me do the talking." Dr. Sanjay Patel, their xenobiologist, nods almost imperceptibly, his dark eyes scanning the chamber with scientific curiosity despite their predicament. Lieutenant Maya Wong, their security specialist, subtly shifts her stance to protective mode, though her sidearm had been confiscated upon their forceful escort from their ship. The Grand Arbiter, a being resembling a mantis crossed with an octopus, rises from an elevated platform, its translucent exoskeleton pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that Elena recognizes as indicators of extreme agitation. The being towers nearly 4 meters tall, its multiple limbs moving with unsettling precision. "You stand accused of an act of war," it announces, voice resonating through translators around the chamber. "We welcomed you, shared our communications protocols, and in return, humanity invaded sovereign territory of the Vex Imperium." Elena steps forward, keeping her voice steady despite the absurdity of the accusation. "Honored Arbiter, distinguished council members, there must be a misunderstanding. Earth has only a single extrasolar colony, established on an uninhabited world. We've made no contact with any civilization called the Vex Imperium." A murmur ripples through the assembled representatives. Some confer with small floating devices, while others communicate in ways Elena's human senses cannot perceive. Chemical signals, electromagnetic pulses, and quantum entanglements passing information beyond human detection. Ignorance does not absolve responsibility. The Arbiter responds, its limbs creating complex patterns that the translator doesn't convert. A private communication to the other council members, Elena realizes. The chamber darkens as screens materialize around them, displaying high-resolution images of Earth's pride. New Hope Colony on Proxima Centauri. The terraforming domes gleam under the red dwarf's light, fields of Earth crops thriving in carefully modified soil. The images progress through the colony's development. First, the research outpost, then the initial habitat domes, finally the sprawling settlement of 15,000 humans who now call this world home. The final image freezes on a human child. A young girl with curly hair playing in terraformed fields under an alien sky, laughing as she chases a butterfly brought from Earth. The image is beautiful, peaceful, apparently the face of invasion. "This world," announces a new voice, smooth and melodious, but with an underlying electronic resonance, belongs to the Vex Imperium. The crowd parts as a shimmering cloud of what appears to be metallic dust approaches, swirling and coalescing into a vaguely humanoid shape. The nanite construction hovers before Elena, its surface rippling like quicksilver. "I speak for the Vex. You have destroyed our monitoring stations, disrupted patterns established over centuries, and contaminated a world under our protection with your biological agents." The nanite cloud gestures toward the image of the laughing child. "You bring your offspring to secure your illegal claim. This constitutes invasion under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter." Elena exchanges bewildered glances with her team. They had spent years surveying Proxima Centauri before breaking ground on the colony. There had been no signs of artificial structures, no technology, no evidence of any prior claim. "We request evidence of this prior claim," Elena responds, diplomatic training taking over despite her racing heart. "Our surveys detected no sentient presence, no structures, no technology." The Vex representative's form shimmers with what Elena interprets as disdain. Your primitive detection methods are irrelevant to established fact. The Council will now determine appropriate sanctions for this transgression. This is absurd, Elena argues during the tense hearing that follows. The Council has moved to a smaller chamber, less theatrical, but no less intimidating. Representatives from the major powers sit in a semicircle of elevated platforms, each species accommodated by environmental modifications. Bubbling liquid tanks for the aquatic Mercen delegates, low-gravity fields for the spindly Altarians, and dense methane pockets for the gaseous entities from the Cygnus sector. We surveyed Proxima Centauri for 2 years before establishing New Hope. There were no signs of sentient life, no structures, no technology. Elena projects their survey data onto the central display, showing comprehensive scans across all detectable spectrums. We followed every protocol in the first contact guidelines we received from your automated beacons. The Vex representative, the shimmering cloud of synchronized nanites, floats forward. Its metallic particles rearrange into a rough approximation of a human face, an unsettling mimicry that Elena recognizes as a psychological tactic. Our presence does not require your primitive understanding to be valid. It responds with cold precision. The nanite cloud projects its own images, microscopic structures, complex crystalline networks humans had unknowingly disrupted during terraforming. These nodes formed a planet-wide sensory network, gathering data for 726 of your years. Your colony destroyed 62% of our monitoring capabilities. Dr. Sanjay Patel, Elena's xenobiologist, whispers urgently in her ear, "Commander, those aren't natural formations, but they're not buildings either. They look like extraction nodes. The crystalline structure has artificial precision, but the pattern suggests resource collection, not monitoring." Elena keeps her expression neutral, years of diplomatic training hiding her sudden concern. She addresses the Council. "We regret any unintentional damage. Earth is prepared to discuss reparations and establish communication protocols with the Vex Imperium to prevent future misunderstandings." A tall, avian being with iridescent feathers rises from the Council bench. The Vex Imperium proposes appropriate sanctions, immediate evacuation of all human presence from the Proxima Centauri system, restriction of human expansion to no more than 2 light-years from your home system for the next 50 years, and technological supervision of your future survey methods. Its voice clicks and whistles through the translator. "That's not a negotiation. It's a containment policy," Lieutenant Wong mutters, just loud enough for Elena to hear. Later, confined to diplomatic quarters aboard the station, luxurious accommodations that still serve as effective detention, Elena gathers her team. The suite's transparent ceiling reveals the stunning nebula beyond the station, swirls of purple and blue gas illuminated by distant stars, a beautiful view that feels like a mockery of their situation. Something isn't adding up, Elena says once Wong has activated their counter-surveillance equipment, creating a small sphere of privacy. These sanctions seem disproportionate to an accidental disruption of monitoring equipment. "Because it wasn't monitoring equipment," Paddle says, projecting his analysis of the Vex structures. "These formations are designed for specific mineral extraction. See these receptor channels. They're collecting rare earth elements, particularly ytterbium and promethium isotopes." Lieutenant Maya Wong looks up from her datapad, her expression grim. "And I found something else. I managed to hack into some restricted Council archives, despite the risk." She projects a classified file marked with alien symbols. "We're not the first species to face these accusations. 3 other emerging civilizations in the past century were sanctioned for similar invasions of seemingly uninhabited worlds. Their expansion rights were severely restricted. Dr. Lin, their cultural anthropologist, studies the data. All cases involve the Vex, and all involve planets with unusual mineral compositions. This isn't about territory, it's about resources." Elena stares out at the nebula, her reflection superimposed over the cosmic vista. "They're not protecting their territory," she says quietly. They're eliminating competition for specific resources. The question is, what do they need these minerals for? A soft chime interrupts them as the room's communication system activates. Commander Reyes announces an artificial voice. Your presence is requested by Council Member Myriad of the Aeroform Collective. The meeting is unofficial and unrecorded. At your discretion. Alina exchanges looks with her team. An ally. Patel suggests hopefully. Or another trap. Wong counters. Either way, Alina says, straightening her uniform, it's the first potential opening we've had. Let's see what Council Member Myriad wants with humanity. Back on Proxima Centauri, the 15,000 colonists of New Hope receive the Council's demand to evacuate within 30 days. The message arrives during the settlement's Harvest Festival, transforming celebration into crisis in an instant. Colony Director Dr. Kazuo Yamamoto stands on the raised platform in the central dome, his weathered face illuminated by the reddish light filtering through the transparent ceiling. Rain patters against the dome, not earth rain, but the mineral-rich precipitation they've learned to capture and purify. Beyond the dome's protection, fields of genetically adapted wheat wave and the artificial wind created by climate regulators, the fruits of 10 years' labor visible in every direction. I won't pretend this isn't serious, Kazuo says, his voice carrying through the gathered crowd. Children sit on parents' shoulders. Elderly colonists lean on canes fashioned from local materials. Researchers stand beside farmers. A complete society grown from the original 50 pioneers. The Galactic Council claims we've invaded territory belonging to a species called the Vex Imperium. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. There was nothing here when we arrived, calls out Dr. Sarah Chen, the colony's lead terraforming engineer. We spent 2 years surveying before breaking ground. Kazuo raises his hands for calm. Commander Reyes is defending our position at the council, but we must prepare for all possibilities. He looks across the faces watching him. Friends, colleagues, neighbors. This is our home, he says, voice breaking with emotion. We cannot abandon it based on unproven claims. The colonists erupt in agreement, the sound echoing through the dome. Kazuo notices his 16-year-old daughter Mai watching from the side, her expression troubled. Worn during the journey to Proxima Centauri, she's never known any home but this alien world. Later, in his laboratory beneath the main habitat, Kazuo studies soil samples with renewed purpose. The lab hums with activity as researchers analyze the colony's environmental impact, searching for anything that might help their case. Dad, look at this, Mai says, displaying a holographic map of sample sites. A budding geological prodigy, she's been conducting her own studies of the planet's unusual mineral composition. I've been mapping those microscopic structures the Council mentioned, the ones they claim are Vex technology. Kazuo examines her work, impressed by her methodical approach. What am I seeing? Everyone's been examining individual samples, Mai explains, but when I map thousands of sites together, I found this pattern. She expands the hologram, revealing a geometric web extending across entire continents. These aren't random monitoring stations. They form a structured network, and they're all connected to these larger nodes here, and here. She highlights points that correspond with unusual geological formations. It's like the planet was being hollowed out from within, she whispers, long before we arrived. Kazuo stares at the pattern, the implications sinking in. This isn't monitoring technology. It's mining equipment. Mai finishes. Automated, microscopic mining equipment. Their discovery coincides with the first reports of unusual seismic activity in previously stable regions. Monitoring stations along the eastern ridge record tremors increasing in both frequency and strength. Something's waking up, Mai says, studying the readings. Something deep below the surface. Kazuo reaches for the communication console, then hesitates. The quantum entanglement communicator linking them to Alina's team at the council had gone silent hours ago, either jammed or disabled. We're on our own, he tells his daughter, but this evidence might save our colony. He studies the pattern again. The question is, what were the Vex mining for, and why did they hide their operation from the Council? A stronger tremor shakes the laboratory, sending equipment crashing to the floor. Through the ceiling, they hear the colony's emergency sirens beginning to wail. On the Council station, Elena walks the breathtaking promenade of species, a curved, transparent corridor, displaying the majesty of deep space. Designed as a neutral ground where representatives can meet informally, the promenade features environmental pockets accommodating various biological needs. Humid arbors for photosynthetic species, gravity wells for high-density life forms, and chemical baths for silicon-based entities. Despite its splendor, Elena feels isolated. Established powers pointedly avoid her, unwilling to associate with humanity during this controversy. 2 days of formal hearings have yielded no progress, with the Vex representative blocking every proposal for compromise. Commander Reyes, comes a melodic, synthesized voice behind her. Your species has a saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." Perhaps it applies here. Elena turns to face a swirling violet gas contained within a transparent mobile vessel, a member of the Aeroform Collective. The being's essence shifts in patterns Elena recognizes as emotional expression. Council member Myriad. Elena greets them, recalling the mysterious invitation. I appreciate you meeting with me. Find us somewhere private, the gaseous entity replies, pulsing with caution. What I have to share would endanger my position. They locate a quiet alcove designed for meditation, its privacy shields active. Once secure, Myriad's containment field darkens to prevent facial analysis from distance. 300 years ago, the Vex made the same accusations against my people, the translator relays as Myriad's cloud form ripples with emotional light patterns. We had established outposts on 7 worlds along the Orion Spur. All were declared Vex territory, despite our thorough surveys showing no presence. What happened? Elena asks. We lost 7 promising colony worlds and a generation of expansion. The Council ruled against us, as they have ruled against others. Myriad's gaseous form darkens. The Vex operate through proxies on the Council, exchanging their advanced nanite technology for political support. Elena leans forward. Why are you telling me this? Because humanity's approach is different. You offer technological exchange rather than demanding concessions. This threatens the Vex model of control. Myriad pulses with what Elena interprets as determination. I've arranged for a neutral investigation team to visit your colony. It's the most I could achieve given the political realities. Thank you, Elena says sincerely. Don't thank me yet, Myriad responds. The Vex have maintained their position as technological leaders for millennia by ensuring no younger species ever reaches their full potential. They won't relinquish this system easily. As Myriad departs, Lieutenant Wong approaches with encrypted data on her pad. Commander, I've intercepted something concerning, she whispers. Our quantum security suite detected targeted communications between the Vex representative and another council member. Elena studies the data, her expression darkening. The recipient is the Grand Arbiter itself, she realizes. Our supposedly neutral judge has private arrangements with our accuser. That's not all, Wong continues. I analyzed the communication patterns of council representatives after our hearings. The voting blocs aren't forming along traditional alliances. They're aligning precisely with which species have received Vex technology transfers in the past decade. Elena gazes out at the stars beyond the promenade's transparent walls. This isn't just about one colony world, she says quietly. It's about the future of humanity among the stars. She activates her secure communicator. Connect me to Earth Central Command. Authorization raise Alpha 79. The communicator remains silent for several seconds before connecting. Central Command, Admiral Chen speaking. Report, Commander. Admiral, I need you to implement contingency protocol Bright Shield, Elena says, her voice steady despite the gravity of her request. And send the following encrypted message to New Hope Colony. Dig deeper. The truth is below. Understood. The Admiral responds without hesitation. Bright Shield activated. May I ask what we're facing? Elena watches a Vex representative glide across the distant end of the promenade, its nanite form briefly mimicking her silhouette in what can only be interpreted as a threat. Not what, Admiral, she replies. With Myriad's influence, Elena secures permission for a neutral investigation team to visit Proxima Centauri B Council protocols, require her to remain on the station as a diplomatic hostage, but her diplomatic officer Marcus Chen joins the mission. A seasoned negotiator with a background in xenorchaeology, Marcus is the perfect choice to uncover whatever secrets the colony world holds. On Earth, the revelation of the crisis triggers worldwide reactions. Public plazas fill with protesters demanding the Council recognize New Hope's legitimacy. Military leaders quietly activate reserve fleets, moving them to strategic positions while maintaining a non-threatening posture. In research centers across the planet, scientists work frantically to verify the Vex claims, analyzing everything humanity knows about Proxima Centauri. The investigation team's ship emerges from FTL travel at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. Marcus stands at the observation deck, watching the red dwarf star grow larger on the view screen. Beside him, 3 alien investigators represent the Council's neutral faction. A crystalline Tellurian who perceives time differently than humans, a reptilian Sorak with enhanced sensing abilities, and a cybernetically augmented Quarren whose species specializes in data analysis. I expected a military installation, commenced the Sorak, Zistix, as New Hope colony comes into view. Your reports claimed 15,000 inhabitants, but the energy signature suggests primarily civilian infrastructure. Because it is civilian, Marcus replies. New Hope is a research colony focused on terraforming and agricultural development. The Quarren, who goes by the designation Interface, tilts its partially mechanical head. Curious. The Vex briefing indicated weapons testing and resource exploitation objectives. A ship lands at the colony's main transport hub, where they're greeted by Dr. Kazuo Yamamoto and a small reception committee. Marcus notes the visible fatigue on their faces. The seismic events have intensified, forcing evacuations from the outer habitats. Welcome to New Hope, Kazuo says formally. We've prepared full access to our records, facilities, and survey data. The crystalline Tellurian, Chronomax, chimes with a sound like tinkling bells, their form of speech. The translator converts. We require unimpeded investigation capabilities and direct examination of the disputed subterranean structures. You'll have it, Kazuo agrees, then turns to Marcus. Commander Ray's message arrived yesterday. We've already begun deeper excavations at the sites she indicated. Marcus reviews the evidence Kazuo and Mai have compiled. The geometric pattern of Vex technology spanning continents, the unusual seismic readings, and soil samples containing microscopic machinery far more sophisticated than simple monitoring devices. Working with Kazuo and Mai, he helps coordinate the investigation team's efforts. What they uncover astonishes even the alien observers. Beneath 3 separate regions of the colony, vast chambers of ancient machinery extend kilometers into the planetary crust. The technology is clearly Vex in origin, but carbon dating puts its installation at least 400 years before humanity's arrival. This isn't monitoring equipment, Interface states, analyzing the central control node. This is an automated harvesting system designed to extract specific isotopes from the planet's core, essentially mining the world from the inside out. But why hide this operation? Marcus wonders. The Vex could have registered a legitimate mining claim with the Council. May, who has been analyzing the geological impact of the machinery, looks up from her instruments. Because they're not just mining. They're destabilizing the planet intentionally. These devices are positioned at critical tectonic junctions. If they continue operating at accelerated rates, they'll trigger catastrophic planetary failure within decades. A dying world would be useless to them, Kazuo argues. Chronomax's crystalline form vibrates with revelation, unless planetary destruction was the goal from the beginning. As they document their findings for transmission to the Council, the ancient machinery suddenly activates with renewed intensity. Warning systems across the colony blare as tremors rock the settlement, stronger than any before. The investigation team rushes to the surface, only to witness a horrifying sight. In orbit above the planet, 3 Vex ships have appeared, their distinctive nanite construction unmistakable even at a distance. They're not waiting for the Council's judgment, Marcus realizes. They're here to eliminate the evidence. As the investigation team rushes to compile evidence, Alina faces a critical revelation on the Council station. Dr. Patel bursts into her quarters, his usual composed demeanor replaced by urgent excitement. "Commander, I've identified the specific isotopes the Vex machinery extracts," he explains, projecting molecular diagrams in the air between them. "It's predominantly selenium-79X, a modified isotope we've never encountered in our solar system." Alina studies the projection. What makes it so valuable? "It's not just valuable. It's essential," Patel explains. "Based on the molecular structure and interaction patterns, this isotope would be critical for nanite replication at the quantum level." Myriad joins their meeting, floating in with security clearance Alina arranged. The gaseous entity pulses with agitation as Patel shares his findings. "This confirms our suspicions," Myriad's translator conveys. "The Vex aren't a naturally evolved species like most Council members. They're engineered beings created millennia ago as weapons, requiring specific elements to self-replicate." "Weapons?" Alina asks. "Created by whom?" "Unknown," Myriad responds. "The oldest Council records refer to a precursor civilization that vanished after a catastrophic war. Many believe the Vex were their final creation, a self-perpetuating weapon system that outlived its creators." Lieutenant Wong enters, her expression grave. "Commander, we've lost contact with the investigation team, and our long-range sensors have detected 3 Vex vessels entering the Proxima Centauri system. On the colony world, the situation deteriorates rapidly. The activated Vex machinery accelerates its extraction process, causing increasingly violent tremors. Marcus and the investigation team work with colony engineers to evacuate civilians to the emergency shelters designed for stellar flare events. The Vex ships will reach orbit in less than 4 hours, Kazuo announces in the colony's command center. Holographic displays show structural failures spreading across outer habitat domes. Planetary communications are being jammed. We can't contact Earth or the Council. The subsurface machinery is reaching critical operational levels, Mag reports from her monitoring station. At this rate, they'll trigger a complete crustal collapse within days. Marcus studies the engineering schematics of the Vex technology they've uncovered. The Vex aren't just harvesting resources, they're covering their tracks. This planet was never meant to survive their mining operation. The core and investigator interface connects to the colony's mainframe. I've analyzed the Vex technology signatures. They're accelerating a process designed to leave no evidence of their presence. Standard procedure for them, it appears. Can we shut it down? Marcus asks. Kazuo shakes his head. Conventional methods won't work. The systems are self-repairing and distributed too widely. Mai looks up from her console, eyes bright with sudden inspiration. What about unconventional methods? Our terraforming equipment modifies planetary ecosystems at the microbiological level. Weaponizing terraforming technology. Marcus questions. Not weaponizing, Mai corrects. Adapting. These Vex machines use adaptive nanotechnology, but they're still subject to fundamental physical laws. What if we introduced specifically engineered microorganisms designed to neutralize or repurpose the nanites? The colony scientists and engineers make a bold decision, reprogramming their terraforming equipment to produce specialized bacteriological countermeasures based on Mai's lifetime, studying the planet's unique chemistry. This has never been attempted, Dr. Chen warns as they prepare the modified terraforming nodes. We'd be introducing an entirely new biological agent into the planetary ecosystem. It's either that or lose the planet entirely, Kazuo responds, along with all evidence of what the Vex have been doing. On the council station, Elena makes her own desperate move. Using Myriad's access codes, she bypasses security protocols to broadcast directly to the full council, interrupting an ongoing session. Honored representatives, she addresses them, her image appearing on communication screens throughout the chamber. I must report an emergency situation. Vex vessels have entered the Proxima Centauri system without council authorization, while their hidden technology threatens the survival of our colony. The council erupts in confusion as Elena presents preliminary findings from the investigation team. The Grand Arbiter attempts to shut down her transmission, but several representatives demand she continue. This isn't about territorial claims, Elena declares. The evidence suggests the Vex have been secretly mining worlds for centuries, concealing their operations from the Council and eliminating witnesses by manufacturing diplomatic incidents. She pauses, making eye contact with key representatives. And humanity is not their first target. The emergency council session erupts into chaos as Elena presents the investigation findings. The chamber's environmental systems struggle to maintain stability as species communicate in their native forms. Light pulses, chemical emissions, and electromagnetic signals create a storm of cross-communication. The Vex didn't place monitoring stations on our colony world, Elena declares, standing firm despite the tumult. They've been secretly mining it for centuries, and when we unknowingly disrupted their operation, they manufactured this crisis to remove us. The Vex representative shifts into an intimidating form, its nanite cloud darkening and growing to twice its previous size. Your primitive species cannot comprehend our methods, it announces, voice resonating with artificial harmonics designed to inspire submission in biological beings. We have guided this council for millennia. Our technology powers your worlds, heals your sick, defends your borders. Several council members voice support for the Vex, including the reptilian Sora Confederation ambassador. The human claims are unsubstantiated. They seek to distract from their territorial aggression. Then explain this, Elena counters, projecting images transmitted from Marcus moments before communications were jammed. The holographic display shows the ancient Vex machinery beneath New Hope Colony, carbon dating results confirming its age, and analysis of the planetary destabilization pattern. Myriad floats forward, its gaseous form glowing with determination. I submit additional evidence to the Council. The being releases restricted historical records showing identical accusations against 12 species over 2,000 years, each following the same pattern of discovery, accusation, and territorial restriction. This is unauthorized access to sealed records, the Grand Arbiter declares, its multiple limbs gesturing for security drones to contain Myriad. Why seal these records at all? Challenges a crystalline representative from the Tellurian Collective. What purpose does concealing this pattern serve except to protect the Vex? The chamber divides into factions, centuries-old political alliances fracturing under the weight of the revelations. Elena watches carefully, noting which species rally to the Vex position, primarily those dependent on Vex nanotechnology. You claim territorial violation. Elena addresses the Vex representative directly, yet your own machinery predates human arrival by centuries. You hide planetary-scale mining operations from the Council, while publicly condemning other species for resource exploitation. This isn't about territory, it's about maintaining your technological monopoly. When the Grand Arbiter attempts to dismiss the evidence, Elena plays her final card, the intercepted communications proving its corruption. The neutrality of these proceedings has been compromised, she announces. The Arbiter has been privately coordinating with the Vex while presiding over this case. The Council chamber explodes into factional arguments. The elder species, those who helped establish the Council millennia ago, demand verification of Elena's claims. Younger civilizations, many who faced similar accusations from the Vex in their early expansion periods, call for a complete investigation of Vex activities. The Vex representative expands further, its nanite cloud now filling a significant portion of the chamber. shifting between threatening forms. This discussion is irrelevant, it announces. Our enforcement fleet will resolve the Proxima Centauri situation directly. The human colony harbors technology that threatens galactic stability. What technology? Elena demands. Our colony focuses on agricultural development and terraforming research. Precisely. The Vex representative responds. Your terraforming methods achieve in decades what should require centuries. Such acceleration threatens established order. You mean it threatens your control of resource extraction, Elena counters. Efficient terraforming means more habitable worlds for all species, not just those with your technology. The Grand Arbiter, seeing its authority crumbling, attempts to reassert control. This session is suspended pending formal investigation of these allegations. All parties will. An urgent signal interrupts the proceedings as the chamber's central communication array activates autonomously. A priority override from the Proxima Centauri system bypasses standard protocols, projecting a live feed from the colony. The Council watches in stunned silence as the feed shows 3 Vex ships in orbit around Proxima Centauri, deploying smaller craft toward the colony. The image shifts to the surface, where something unexpected is happening. The tremors have stopped, and the colony's terraforming shields are expanding, creating a barrier of energy that the Vex ships cannot penetrate. What you are witnessing, Marcus Chen's voice explains over the feed, is humanity's response to the Vex attempt to destroy evidence of their illegal mining operation. We've adapted our technology to neutralize theirs. The camera pans to show Mai Yamamoto monitoring a transformed terraforming station, now emitting waves of specialized microorganisms that visibly consume the Vex nanites attempting to breach the colony's perimeter. The question before the Council, Elena states into the sudden quiet of the chamber, is not whether humanity invaded Vex territory, but whether the Council will continue to allow the Vex to operate outside its laws. The Council watches in stunned silence as another transmission arrives, this one from the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. The display shows a formation of sleek vessels emerging from FTL travel, their design unmistakably human but incorporating technological elements unfamiliar to most Council representatives. Earth's Bright Shield Defense Fleet, Elena explains calmly, assembled over the past decade as a contingency against first contact scenarios. The approaching Vex fleet finds not a defenseless colony but Earth's rapidly deployed defensive armada. The human ships take position around the colony world in a protective formation, neither attacking nor retreating. Hostile action against our colony will be interpreted as an act of war, Admiral Chen's voice announces over the transmission. However, we remain open to diplomatic resolution. The Council chamber erupts in urgent discussions. War between a new species and the technologically superior Vex could destabilize the entire sector. Several representatives prepare to evacuate, fearing imminent conflict. We could fight. Elena addresses the Council, her voice cutting through the chaos. Humanity has prepared for this possibility since we first detected your transmissions decades ago. But we choose a different path. The feeds from Proxima Centauri shift to show New Hope colonists activating a planetary-scale network of modified terraforming nodes. The devices emit pulses of energy that interact with the planet's atmosphere, creating a cascading reaction visible from orbit as waves of blue-green light. Dr. Yamamoto's voice explains to the breathless Council, "We've developed a method to synthetically produce selenium-79 without planetary destruction. The process converts common elements into the isotope the Vex require for their nanite reproduction." The Vex ships halt their approach as data streams from the colony reach them. Elena watches the Vex representative's nanite form fluctuate wildly as it processes this information, expanding and contracting in what appears to be internal conflict. The Vex ships are withdrawing to a higher orbit, Lieutenant Wang reports, monitoring the tactical display. They're analyzing the data from the colony. Elena delivers humanity's proposal. We will share this technology with the Vex and all Council species, asking only for recognition of our sovereignty and full membership among you. Our colonists can live alongside Vex harvesting operations that use our sustainable methods rather than planetary destruction. The chamber erupts in astonished murmurs. The concept of freely sharing such valuable technology contradicts the competitive protocols that have governed galactic relations for millennia. The Vex representative's form stabilizes, coalescing into a more complex structure than previously displayed. You would share this freely, without dominance, without exclusive resource rights. Elena smiles. That's who we are. Humanity doesn't need to conquer or control to thrive. We innovate, we adapt, we collaborate. She turns to address the full council. Our history taught us that technological hoarding leads to conflict, while sharing creates prosperity for all. Your species had the capability to defeat our extraction force, the Vex representative states. Our analysis confirms your defensive capabilities exceed our projections, yet you offer collaboration instead. Because war benefits neither of us, Elena replies. Sustainable resource extraction benefits everyone. The Council deliberates for 3 full cycles, the longest emergency session in recorded history. Species that have been adversaries for millennia find themselves aligned in reassessing humanity's position. The Vex representative communicates continuously with its fleet, data flowing between them in encrypted streams. Finally, the Council votes, overwhelmingly approving Earth as a full member and recognizing New Hope's legitimacy. The Grand Arbiter, acknowledging its compromised position, announces its resignation and recommends a structural reform of Council leadership. In the final moments of the session, the Vex representative approaches Elena privately. Its nanite form shifts into a perfect replica of a DNA double helix, a gesture of acknowledgement to humanity's biological nature. Our directives have remained unchanged for millennia, it communicates. Resource acquisition and self-perpetuation above all considerations. Your species has introduced a variable our systems have never encountered: sustainable cooperation. Will the Vex adapt to this new paradigm? Elena asks. We must, the representative responds. Your technology makes our current methods obsolete. Perhaps this is why our creators programmed us with the capacity to evolve for encounters such as this. As the council session concludes, Elena watches from the promenade as representatives from a dozen species approach her, eager to establish direct relations with humans. Myriad joins her, its gaseous form glowing with amusement. You've accomplished in weeks what many of us couldn't in centuries, the translator conveys. The Vex monopoly on key technologies has been the Council's unspoken constraint for generations. Elena looks out at the stars, thinking of the colony saved and the future now possible. We just reminded everyone of something simple that got lost in politics. Space is vast enough for all of us to thrive, if we choose to. In the distance, the Vex representative observes their conversation, its nanite form shimmering with what might be curiosity. For the first time in thousands of years, its primary directive has shifted, from competition to collaboration, representing perhaps the greatest evolution in its long existence. On New Hope Colony, settlers emerge from their shelters to view a night sky where Vex and human ships now orbit together, exchanging technology rather than weapons fire. Mei Yamamoto stands beside her father, watching the lights move across the stars. I thought we'd have to fight to keep our home, she says quietly. Kazuo puts his arm around his daughter's shoulders. Instead, we found a way to share it. That's humanity's greatest strength, seeing solutions where others see only conflict.